In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose. As long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts, Alex and Sean. On this episode, we're going to be talking about the NHL and NBA draft lotteries happening. We're going to be talking about a little bit of Bears news and, of course, Cubs and Sox this week. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You get to see the stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. So head on over to icehogs.com, get yourself a hat, shirt, jersey, tickets, and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Alex, my friend, how are you doing today?
Well, I wanted to ask you a real quick question. Why did you help the Bulls and rig that lottery only and not for the Blackhawks as well? Can we just laugh at the fact right now that the Bulls have the fourth pick, the Blackhawks have the fourth pick? It feels great for the Bulls. That's really cool. The Blackhawks is kind of a gut punch, right?
It could be, or it could be perfectly fine. I'm not. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be when I sat down and thought about it. But it is kind of funny that the last four seasons the Bulls drafted 1, 2, 3, and now 4.
Well, you mean the Blackhawks?
Sorry, the Blackhawks. You're right. The Blackhawks went 1, 2, 3, and 4. But I don't know if it's gonna. I mean, it very well could be. It very well could be a gut punch, depending on how the other teams draft. Because there's one player I really, really want, and I think there's a good shot he might be available.
I mean, obviously, winning the lottery and giving Gavin McKenna would have been the dream. I mean, imagine him and Connor Bedard together. There would have been your star duo. I mean, the reason it's a gut punch for me is you were the second worst team in hockey. You finished fourth in last place 4 straight years. Last place, dead last, for 4 straight years. And yeah, you get fourth. I don't know. It kind of stinks. I'm wondering if they're going to trade that pick. But with the Bulls, on the other hand, that is a nice surprise.
Yeah, the Bulls. That odds of winning top 4 pick was real low, and I was fully awaiting there. I turned it on right as the lottery was going on. I missed all the hoopla before, but I turned it on just in time, and I see that they get, pick 11. I was like, okay. And the way the graphic was on the screen was like picks 5 through 9 were on the left side, and 10 through 14 were on the right side. And I was like, as long as we're on the left side, I'm okay. And they get to 11. Nope, not Bulls. Then 10 was like Milwaukee. And then I'm like, all right, here we go. Number 9. And it wasn't the Bulls. And I was, oh, here we go. And then they were like, that means the Bulls are in the top 4. And then they made it super anticlimactic because they put them in the order that they went in on the screen.
I know.
I was like, oh, okay. Well, now I know the Bulls are 4th. But like super anticlimactic. But you know what? Number 4, I'm very happy with. I mean, this is less of a, I don't want to call it death sentence. That just sounds really ominous. But this, I really thought this was a 4-person draft. And then it's now that I'm starting to see maybe it's a little deeper, but there's 4 really good players. And being in the top 4 means they get one of those dudes.
Yeah, and I mean, the way I see this draft is you're not looking at a Wemby or a Cooper Flag in this draft, but you got some nice dispersed talent. So the fact that you're at least drafting higher in a deeper draft, I think that's a nice first step for this new regime.
Yeah. And, while we're sitting here, do you want to introduce our guest?
Yes, we do. We have a very special guest today, one of my best friends out there, our buddy Eric Nemchak. He is here. He is a Sky season ticket holder. He's going to be talking all things Chicago Sky on this first segment here, previewing the season, and we'll talk a little Bulls with him as well. He is one of my top basketball dudes, him and my brother. So, Eric, without further ado, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me, guys. How are you doing?
Doing
Good.
great.
So, Eric, are you surprised the Bulls were able to luck out and get in the top four?
I was very surprised. I thought they embraced the tank way too late last season. They made all those trades at the trade deadline. Some of them were, I guess, kind of DOA there with Jaden Ivey, which we're not going to get into. But yeah, very surprised. Obviously needed some luck on their side. But I will tell you, the last time they picked number four overall, it did not work out so well. So
I
recent
know.
history is not on their side. I am hoping this whoever is in their front office by the time the NBA draft rolls around makes a better selection. I've been told what's the guy from UNC? Caleb Wilson?
Yeah, that's who a lot of guys have been talking about when it comes to the Bulls. And
Yeah,
I think it's kind of funny. Caleb Wilson, Caleb Williams, that'd be kind of
my
funny.
guy Ricky O'Donnell, who's also happens to be the guy heading up SB Nation NBA coverage. He tells me that he's the guy to root for, to pull for. So he knows ball more than me. So I'll trust him on that one. But yeah, just please don't draft Patrick Williams again. Just don't do that.
I mean, I don't. I think with the top four picks, I don't think you can go wrong. AJ Dibansa, he's going to go first. I think that's pretty obvious, and then probably Peterson from Kansas is probably second. Then it just comes down to, whether Memphis goes with Wilson or Boozer, and I don't think Boozer would be a terrible pick. It just kind of overlaps with what you have. And I don't know if he's going to be a superstar. I think he's going to be a very, very good player. But he's going to be kind of like his dad. He's going to be a good player, maybe not a great player. And I think in top four, you're hopeful you get a great player.
You would hope so. But again, last time they drafted number four, did not get
They
a great
got
player. Didn't even get a good player. They they,
no,
they got a player, but
they got a terrible player that they compounded by giving him a terrible
he technically
contract.
plays basketball, but I can't say much more than that.
Uh, yeah, that was just a really when they drafted him. I remember watching that draft coverage, and our friend Big Dave was doing like the online coverage, and I was sitting with my kid watching this, and they drafted. I'm like, ugh, ugh, ugh. That
That's more
was
or less my reaction to watching him play these days. So nothing has changed really.
uh,
Yeah, I mean, I don't like thinking about it at all. But I remember when they drafted him, he was so raw, and I wanted to give AK the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, okay, maybe they see something in him. Maybe they think that there is talent potential to be unlocked there, but clearly not. He's probably the worst contract in the NBA. Also, wasn't Eddie Curry, wasn't he fourth overall back in the day?
Was he fourth overall? I don't remember when he was drafted exactly, but yeah, another Chicago Bulls legend right there.
I thought it was Eddie Curry. There was a list of past fourth overall picks, and the list was not spectacular. But I mean, again, like Sean says, you are in a pretty deep draft. So, I think that there is going to be hopefully a higher success rate picking at that spot this year for whoever was going to be fourth than when the Bulls were drafting. And yes, it was Eddie Curry 2001. So Patrick Williams, Eddie Curry, Marcus Fisher, Kelvin Ramsey, Tom Borwinkle.
here's the history of Bulls' top five picks: Kermit Washington, Dave Greenwood, Michael Jordan,
He was okay.
uh, Scottie Pippen, Elton Brand, Eddie Curry, Tyson Chandler was they acquired for Elton Brand. Um, Jay Williams, which sucked. That was a
That was
tough one with
unfortunate.
yeah. Ben Gordon, Derrick Rose, Patrick Williams, and then insert name of person in draft this year. So I mean, there are some good players in there. Let's hope let's hope it's better. It's closer to the Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan than it is the Patrick Williams.
please.
And there's a vast expanse of area between those levels of picks.
Yeah. Ugh. But on a lighter side, if we're talking Bulls first, I want to ask you guys this. Did you see or at least pick apart some pieces of the introductory press conference? It happened in the middle of the week, so I didn't see it, but I did see some clips of it. I saw some quotes, and I thought he said the right things for the most part. The only thing that made me want to puke was the acronym.
Yeah, I have acronym phobia at this point. I don't like them anymore, and I didn't like them to begin with.
I never
And,
did.
and
Well,
then
after the Matt Eberflus era, you guys are probably not too
yeah,
fond of
I
acronyms,
was
right?
already very low, and then when Eberflus came in, I rolled my eyes, and then by the time he left, I was like, no more acronym, guys, no more acronyms.
No. I think acronyms are for outdated business practices in the 90s and Pee-wee
So
sports.
the Bulls, basically.
Yeah, actually, yes, it actually fits perfectly.
I just want to say something though. This, for one, it shows how low the bar really is. But
Yep.
I am pleased that they acknowledged right away we are rebuilding, and
Yes.
we will go into the lottery, the tax, luxury tax. So again, that's not something that should deserve praise, but in this case, it kind of does. I'm interested to see who they bring back next year because they had a bunch of guys who, they acquired at the deadline or shortly after the deadline, who we weren't really sure if they were going to be a part of the team in the future. Tank commanders, we like to call them. But there are a couple names on there who I may like to see back. Colin Sexton played pretty well. I don't see any problem with keeping him around. Obviously, the development of Matas Buzelis will be priority number one. But other than that, I mean, it might be ugly for a little while. Like this is going to be a bad team,
Yes, it
but
is.
bad with a purpose.
Right. I mean, at least
Fun
you
bad,
have
hopefully.
hopefully fun bad. At least you have hopefully a good new vision. I mean, I said this on our last show. I mean, I made these 2 points is one, I have no idea how this is going to go. I really don't. I don't really have much information on him. I mean, I've looked at his resume. I've seen what people have said about him being a good talent evaluator and whatnot. But I don't know. This is his first time in a role this high. So he's a first time VP of basketball operations. And the other thing I said too was, and Sean, we talked about this quite in detail, is he might look at what's already here and say, no, this isn't part of my vision. I mean, I feel like Montes Buzelis is going to be here, but we made a point of a guy like Josh Giddey. I'm not saying Josh Giddey is going to be gone next year, but I always say that when a new head comes in,
He's an
when it's
AK
a new
guy.
regime, yeah, exactly. It's the last regime, and maybe the new guy doesn't want him. Maybe he's not part of his vision. There's a non-zero chance that that's part of it. The third point too is he's got to find the right head coach, obviously.
You know, it was just so backwards how when they fired AK, they said, okay, the new executive needs to be okayed by Billy Donovan. I'm like, that's not usually how this works.
No.
The guy reporting to the GM should not be choosing the GM. So I am,
There's a very rare situation where I'm okay with that. And that's if like they the general manager steps down, whether illness or retires, and you have like an elite head coach, and you're like, okay, we want to keep this guy, and we want to just like, all right, you're putting somebody in a spot that's already very good. I will get that, but this was not the case. Billy, at best, was a mediocre coach.
it was fine. I think the direction that they're going in was not for Billy Donovan. He needs a veteran team, as we saw. His greatest success in Chicago came when they had a veteran laden team. And this past couple seasons, I think he did a decent job of making adjustments that kind of fit the direction that the roster was going in. But he's getting up there in age too. How many more years of coaching does he have left? And he probably doesn't want to spend it coaching a rebuilding team. So it was obviously best for all parties if everyone just moved on.
Agreed. Agreed. I mean, I felt that Billy Donovan was a solid coach, not an elite one. But if you're going to do a regime change, wipe the slate clean. And to Sean's point, I feel like the scenario we talked about, hey, hiring the GM if he's okay with the head coach, that kind of quote backwards scenario, in this sport, I think it's really hard to do. I don't think it's unless,
If you've got
extreme
Eric Spoelstra
circumstances.
coaching, then yeah, I'll take his input.
Right, but that's how I mean, how many Eric Spoelstras
Right,
are out there?
exactly.
Right. I think it's a little different in the NFL because let's face it, the team is around a coach's vision for a lot of the NFL. So that is where I could see things differently, but this ain't the NFL. And the Bulls are not in a successful spot right now where you can't say, hey, we have an elite coach. He has a vision. We got to get him a new GM because of this, this, and that. Everything needed to be wiped clean. Everything.
Oh, absolutely. And Billy Donovan is going to turn 61 this month, so he's not a spring chicken.
No.
I also think, and I'm not basing this on anything, but I think he may want one more shot at coaching in college. The landscape is obviously much different than when he won those championships with Florida, but I honestly think he's a better college coach than he is professional coach. So the clock is ticking on that. I'm sure there will be some college programs interested, but if he's in the NBA next year coaching a veteran laden team, I wouldn't be surprised either.
Eric, where do you think he could possibly end up? Do you have any ideas where Billy might be coaching next year if he is indeed in the NBA?
Um, I want to say Orlando, maybe.
I could see
They
that.
need a coaching change badly. Like Jamal
I,
Mosley was for all intents and purposes, he was fired before that playoff series even started.
well, and the
Um,
fact that you blew that 3-1 series lead, and what did they have, a 20-some point lead in the potential clinching game or whatever?
yeah, it was bad. I'm not a big believer in the Detroit Pistons, but you cannot be blowing three. A 3-1 lead isn't what it used to be. There were
No,
several 3-1 leads that were blown in the first round alone this year.
no, that's true. That's true.
It kind of speaks to maybe the parity of the league and the variance of the 3-point shooting and all that good stuff. But yeah, I think Billy does have some years left as a head coach. I think he's a decent head coach, and I don't think he wasn't the problem. He wasn't the main problem for the
No,
past couple of years, but he wasn't the solution either. So
exactly.
when you're
Exactly.
when you're looking for a regime change like that, I think you want a healthy, functioning hierarchy. And if you're going to be going scorched earth on this, you got to have everyone on the same page, or else it's going to turn into loser culture. You're going to turn into the Washington Wizards or the Sacramento Kings, and you
Ugh.
don't want that.
No, no, we don't. It's funny. You mentioned the Wizards and the Kings, and I wanted to bring up something really quick that Sean and I talked about last week that I think is interesting. I take it you've read into some of the anti-tanking measures that the NBA has been putting in place here, or at least have been talking about.
Yeah, some of it I'm not quite sure about. The problem is it's a slippery slope with a lot of these solutions.
Agreed.
Um, you can't realistically expect every single team to be on the exact same playing field. That's just not how it goes. And there's always going to be the incentive to, okay, maybe we're not going to try quite as hard to win these games because we know we're closer to getting the number one overall pick than we are to winning a championship. Like that's professional sports in a 30 team league, right?
Right.
I will say something had to be done because if you look at these teams like the Jazz and the Wizards and the Nets, I mean that was some really shameless stuff they were doing. Holding guys out due to random injuries. NBA sending their own doctors to verify the legitimacy of the injuries that were being reported. I mean, like I said, slippery slopes all over the place. Something had to be done, but gosh, it just doesn't seem like there was an easy solution for me.
I
It's
agree.
it's weird because like, other sports they don't have to have these anti-tanking measures. I mean, the NFL doesn't even do a lottery. I think it's because the NBA there's five players on a court that it's a lot easier to manipulate tanking. It's really hard, I think, to tank in the NFL. You can put somebody on the injured list, but those players are going out there. They want to win. It's, 17 total
Oh yeah,
games.
players don't tank, coaches
Yeah.
tank,
Yeah. Coaches
GMs
tank.
tank, players do
Yep.
not tank.
And it's really hard to do in football. It's really hard to do. That's why they don't need a lottery system in there. Um, but the NBA, it's really easy to manipulate that. Really easy. a weird schedule of rest days, holding guys out with injuries, um, making intentionally bad trades. Like it's very easy to do.
It's very easy to do, but there's never really the smoking gun on the table. You can all sense it, like you're aware what's going on, but unless you point and say, hey, that's the smoking
There's
gun,
no
the
proof. Yeah.
fingerprints prove it, you can't officially prove it. Like if this was a court, you wouldn't be able to have a jury to prove them wrong. And the biggest problem I have, and I get what they're coming from with this, I really, really do, but some teams are just bad. They're downright bad. The Kings are bad
Yeah, the Kings
because
weren't
they're
trying to
bad.
be bad. They were just
Right.
bad.
Exactly. Because they tried to be Bulls 2.0.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's the
So,
hard part is, you don't want to punish teams that are just bad. Like if you saw a team, but you need to have this cycle of the salary cap makes the really good teams come back down to earth, and the the draft system supposed to make the bottom teams better, so you have like this parity and cyclical nature, but it doesn't work out like that. It's the good teams stay good and the bad teams stay bad for the most part. Um, and they, you know, the way that they're trying to do this, I don't think I'm in agreement. You got to stop tanking somehow. It's just a lot easier to say than it is to do, and I don't know if the measures they're putting in place really are going to do it.
yeah, it's kind of how I feel. I don't know. I'm very wishy-washy. I totally understand the whole wanting to get rid of tanking. It's just how do you do it? I mean, really, one of my ideas is you don't make the playoffs. There is a giant ping pong ball just cage, and every team has one ping pong ball in it. You draw. You draw. Just everyone is the same odds. Luck of the draw. I know that could suck and be cruel, but I mean, everyone's got the same odds, right? And you might be at the mercy. Now, obviously, you'd have to put parameters in there, like you can't win it 2 years in a row, or maybe you can't be top three 3 years in a row, or whatever. But I mean, there's no real super solution to this where everybody's going to be happy with it.
You know,
So,
I will say that I do like one aspect of this proposal that they put out there, and that's the 2 year record, the 2 year
mhm.
cumulative record rather than one. The WNBA started doing that maybe about I want to say 2013, 2014, something like that. And I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Because then that eschews the 1 year random disaster from, like say a really good team loses their two top players to freak injuries, and then all of a sudden they're terrible, and then they get the number one pick next year in addition to their best players coming back. Like that kind of eliminates that possibility, which is, you know, not nefarious, but it is unfair. So I do like that. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean that's where I would love the NFL to do something like that, because you give like the Chiefs where Patrick Mahomes goes down and the Chiefs were already struggling a little bit, and now they got the number 9 pick. Uh and they're going to come back next year and just be an elite team after one down year. I would love for the NBA to have something like that.
you think they're going to be elite next year, the Chiefs?
Yeah, if Patrick
Who does
Mahomes
he
is
have to
healthy.
throw to? They don't have Dick or Squat as receivers at this point. Travis
Like,
Kelsey, he could
he-
barely move out there. And Patrick Mahomes is coming off a pretty bad injury. I'm skeptical about them, man. I,
I hope they're bad. I hope they stink. I'm root for it.
eh,
Unlikable team.
they've won enough. They've won enough. Who would think 10 some years ago that we'd be looking at the Kansas City Chiefs as the team that people envy? We got so used to just being the Patriots, the Patriots, the Patriots. You know
And
who I
now the
want that?
Patriots are a team that we laugh at, even though they were in the Super Bowl, because their head
Well,
coach is out there, just
well,
not giving any Fs. Well, I'm
yeah,
sorry, he's giving one F, but no other Fs.
yeah,
Maybe
not
not the
to his
kind you
wife.
want.
No, on boats and his fancy hotels, and yeah, I'm glad we signed Ben Johnson, not Mike Vrabel. Let's just say that.
Oh
Um,
my God, that would have been the most Bears thing ever. Having Mike Vrabel, and we're like, all right, we can live with this. He's a really good coach. And then all of this comes out. We're like, we can't have anything nice.
seriously, seriously. Let's just hope Ben Johnson sticks to shirtless locker room speeches and nothing else crazy.
I saw somebody post online that they're a server at a restaurant and that Ben Johnson came in and she was like, I built up enough nerve to tell him that I was a giant Bears fan and he was really nice. And I was like, all right, good. No, no. When I started reading it, I was like, oh no, is this going to go off the rails? Is he going to say something inappropriate? And no, he was just very nice.
Yeah, it sounds like he's because he goes to the Cubs games. His brother is a Cubs season ticket holder, and he sits next to fans, and he's always taking pictures with them and being really chill. So I'm very proud that Ben Johnson is our head coach. But before we get back to football, Eric, the main reason we brought you here was to preview our Chicago Sky. They will be starting up the season. The Sky have gotten quite a facelift. So I guess, we have a number of questions we want to ask you, but first of all is how are you feeling going into this season? Because the last few seasons have obviously been pretty rough. It seems like there has just been no chemistry with this team whatsoever. Are they heading down the right path? Are the changes that they've been making looking to be effective? How are you feeling right now about the Sky?
I'm excited. I'm excited. This is going to be the best Chicago Sky team, at least on paper, since the 2022 team, I would say, which was the best team in franchise history. So they're significantly improved for sure. Again, on paper, they did actually open their season last night against the Portland Fire, new team, by the way. They won pretty handily, 98-83. So very happy with that. But I think there's kind of an air of excitement around this guy that has not really been there for the past few seasons because, I mean, uh, last couple of years were about build. I feel like I said the exact same thing like the last two times you had me on. They're about building culture, which that approach obviously failed. I think you can kind of trace that back to the sudden breakup of that 2022 team and the ensuing conversations about the lack of accommodations that the Sky are offering relative to the other teams kind of put them in the spotlight for the wrong reasons. People kept asking, what's going on? Why can't they keep their best players? And to be honest, like that reputation is earned. Being cheap, cutting corners, which can be looked past when you're winning, but not when you're losing. And in this era of the WNBA in particular, when they're experiencing exponential growth, the difference between the haves and the have-nots is just massive. It's kind of like an arms race, and the Sky are consistently lagging behind. It's hard to change those reputations. It kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of sorts because you get people, it's a small league. Players talk to each other and they say like, oh, I had a bad experience in Chicago. Oh, really? Why? And they say like, okay, Chicago is not the place you want to be for whatever reason. So I think the last couple seasons were about trying to change that kind of narrative, but it didn't work because they were awful. This season, though, they actually had a pretty good offseason. We're used to seeing them strike out on big free agents and kind of settling for the second and third tier free agents afterwards. But this time they were aggressive and they were able to add some really good players right away. Skylar Diggins, first off, one of the all-time great point guards in league history, known for her leadership, just a fearsome competitor. They brought back Azrae Stevens, who was with the team when they won their championship in 2021. Made a really good deal, a trade for Rickea Jackson, who is a very talented scorer, kind of entering her prime. Should be part of the team for a while if they play their cards right. And also added a couple of defensive-minded guards in Dejanay Carrington and Natasha Cloud. So when you compare this team to last year's team, I think, first of all, you've got significantly more star power. You've got just better players flat out.
There's one player that came out in the draft that was the not the biggest name of coming out of that draft by any stretch, but that I was kind of excited about and didn't show anything, but had a good game yesterday. It's Camila Cardoso.
Yes.
Um, is is she going to be the player that played last night? Is that what she's going to look like, or was it just maybe a good matchup for her?
That's a good question. Definitely a good matchup for her. I mean, Portland, they're an expansion team. They're just too small. Camilla is going to feast in those types of matchups. you look at her stats, she put up 22 and 14. I think the thing with Cardoso is a couple things. I don't think the fit with her and Angel Reese, which we'll obviously talk about, I don't think the pairing made a lot of sense, to be honest, because the whole Twin Towers approach, that's only going to work if you have three really good shooters around them. And that's not something that the Sky were able to consistently put out there. Second thing is, um, I don't believe the chemistry between the two players was really ever truly established. Whereas this season, you're going to have multiple veteran point guards, people who enjoy passing the ball, who know how to get the most out of their centers. I think the pick and roll game is going to be a lot better than it was the past 2 seasons. So Cardoso is going to have that space to operate, and she's going to have those players setting her up, rolling to the basket. So it's going to be a little less one dimensional. The thing I'm looking for Cardoso is her defense going to improve? Because she'll block some shots. I mean, she's 6'7". She's going to block some shots, but containing dribble penetration and defending stretch bigs might still be an issue for her. But the numbers, I believe, will look better. Will they translate to the impact? We'll see.
So you mentioned Angel Reese. That was a big topic I wanted to get to. They obviously traded her away, and it
Yeah.
seemed like to me there was a big disconnect between her and the organization, her and the team, whatever. Can you kind of break down kind of what maybe went wrong or what maybe led up to that decision to trade her?
Yeah, I'm not privy to a lot of the details, but I think the first thing that people will point to is that comment she made last season about not having good enough players to make
Hmm.
the playoffs and wanting to improve the roster. First, I'm going to keep this a buck. She was not wrong about those comments. I mean, that
Right.
was not a very good team.
Clearly she wasn't.
However, however, asterisk, saying that to the media when you're still in season, the timing probably wasn't the best either. And it
Yeah.
just seemed like things were off ever since then. I had hoped that, time heals wounds and, they kind of gave each other some space during the off season. I had hoped that had kind of blown over a little bit, and maybe it had. I think what obviously happened was the Sky just felt there was time to move on from that. You know, they went 23 and 61 with her as their featured player over 2 seasons. Obviously, not all her fault, but I think they probably needed to go in a different direction a little bit. Like I said, the pairing with her and Cardoso, not going anywhere. What did surprise me though is that according to reports, she actually did not request that trade, which for the Sky is a big improvement because a lot of their players tend to request trades out of the city. She did not request a trade. It was the Sky that initiated that trade, which, of course, when that detail came out, people were all up in arms about that, and understandably so. You bring in this player who is so popular and is really driving fan engagement and the growth of the franchise, and then to trade her away like that, you're going to have some unhappy campers.
Hmm.
I do wish they got a little bit more for her. A first round pick in 2027 and 2028 is not nothing, but for a player of Reese's stature, it seems like not very much, right? I don't know what her perceived value was around the league, but I mean, they didn't even get a single active player back in return for her, which was stinky. It stung a little bit. But I think the thing was like they didn't just do this, they didn't just make this trade in a vacuum. They clearly had a plan in free agency to follow it up with, okay, we're trading Angel Reese, and here's what we're doing next. We're signing players X, Y, and Z, and we're going to be a better team this season, right? So they didn't just trade her because they felt like trading her. There was actually a little bit of a follow up, and then I think that kind of makes the landing a little bit easier.
Do you think that not only the comments about her team, but the chip on her shoulder about uh, the the player, the player, contract with the league, and all the comments about Caitlin Clark, and do you think those also had an impact on it? Just, she seemed just to have a big chip on her shoulder.
I mean, she's not the only player in the league to have a chip on her shoulder. You got to kind of think about it in this way. Again, we're at a really interesting point in the WNBA's history where Reese and Clark and then Paige Beckers and AZ Fudd and these players who were tremendously popular in college, and they're going to be getting these sponsorship deals and getting paid many dollars before they even play a single professional game. And then their professional contracts look like pennies in comparison to that. It's just a really weird dynamic that maybe they're just not used to. Maybe they're just not used to it. I don't think any kind of chip on her shoulder had to do with the trade. Again, like I said, I'm not privy to what's going on behind closed doors or anything like that. I just think it was time, or they felt it was time to move on a little bit and to basically overhaul the roster, and they did that. We're going to see if it's successful or not, but the bottom line is, to me, the Sky are a much better basketball team than they were last year.
Are there any other players that have departed since the offseason that are maybe worth noting or maybe came to a surprise to you?
Came as a surprise. Honestly, no. Because once again, Sky were the worst team in the league, or
Yeah.
they tied the Dallas Wings for the worst record in the league. If that's the case, pretty much everything is on the table. You know, last year I feel like they had to. I don't want to call it babysitting, but they had to kind of establish this framework of good locker room presences, veterans with even keeled approaches, cool heads, things like that, just to basically establish this quote unquote culture to make Chicago seem like a good place to play. Okay, well, I see the vision there, but again, they went 10 and 34. So clearly still not a very good place to play. Maybe the one player I'm surprised about is Ariel Atkins, who they cored. So she was in line for a pretty hefty payday. But then they were able to trade her for Rickea Jackson, who was still on her rookie scale contract. And there was nothing else involved in that trade, which I was baffled by. I thought the Sparks would extract another pick from the Sky. I thought the Sky would, you know, offer a pick swap as they so often like to do, but no, it was straight up. So I was a little surprised by that, but otherwise, not really. I think when you're in a position where you have, like I said, that really, really poor cumulative 2-year record, you got to be a little bit aggressive in overhauling this roster. And to be honest, like there were not a lot of players on that team that I saw as pillars for the future, besides Reese and Cardoso, and they made their choice there. So again, it was kind of, I don't want to call it retooling on the fly because I think they went a little more aggressively than that. But looking at that team, you know, it's like, who are they going to bring back from that squad that's really going to make a difference in the future? All due respect. But again, if you're the worst team in the league, you got to be aggressive in making roster
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah, totally fair. Now, tell me this. How do you feel about your head coach? Do you feel bullish about your head coach? Do you think that this is the right coach for the long-term solution? How are you feeling?
No strong opinion on Tyler Marsh yet. I think last year was obviously, I think he was kind of at the mercy of the roster that he was given.
Yep.
They brought back Courtney Vandersloot. They went all in and building around her, and then she got injured in like the second or third week of the season. And then after that, it was just a disaster. Like they had no point guard. They didn't really have much 3-point shooting. Like I said, they were married to this too big lineup without the right pieces around it. They didn't really have any advantages really. So I'm not sure what he could have done. And throughout the course of the season, I could see him getting like more and more frustrated. Beginning of the season, very cool guy, very calm, very even keeled. I actually heard people in the stands like, "Show some emotion, coach. Get up there and coach them." Like he was just sitting on the bench when they were losing. But then he would be crashing out pretty frequently towards the end of the season. So it weighed on him just as it did everyone else. I think this year, you know, they brought him over as a former assistant for the Aces, very successful franchise, obviously, as a coach with the reputation of player development. Didn't see much development last year, to be honest with you. So we'll see what he does this year. I think a lot of people are still smarting over the departure of Teresa Weatherspoon from the previous season because she also had a pretty bad roster, but she was given the heave ho after 1 year, and
Yeah.
Marsh was not. So I think some people were a little upset about that. But again, I'm willing to give him another year for sure. I think just he was kind of boxed in by what he had to work with talent wise last season, and this season he's going to have a much more a roster that makes more sense, yeah, but it's just more talent and a lot more veterans too, a lot more players who have been there and done that and have competed at the highest level and succeeded at the highest level. So if we finish this season and the Sky, you know, they underperform, they finish at 500, they even miss the playoffs, knock on wood, then I'd be saying, okay, might be looking at another head coach next year. But I'm still, I think he still deserves another full season to show what he can do.
Are you excited about the first round pick they brought in?
I wasn't when they picked her. I think Gabriela Jaquez is a great player. I think she was a really key part of that UCLA championship run. I mean, when you have the entire starting lineup of a college team get drafted like that, you got a good thing going on there in UCLA. I don't think she has the highest ceiling of those players, but she is going to be able to make an impact right away. I think she's more of a low risk type of pick, in which they looked at what they already had. They said, okay, we got guards, we got centers. We need a wing player who can come in and shoot the ball and do the dirty work. Doesn't need the ball in her hands to be effective. Doesn't need the ball to make an impact. And that is Gabriela Jaquez. She's not going to be scoring big numbers, but she's got a great nose for the basketball. Like, she will outwork people on the glass. She will go after those loose balls. She'll get deflections. They were mentioning it on the broadcast last night. She might lead the team in deflections this year. And that's not nothing. It's not going to show up in the box score, but it is tremendously important. So once again, I think they're thinking of who's going to fit this team immediately rather than who is going to be the best player long term. I personally don't like that approach because, once again, worst team in the league last year. Do you want to be drafting for immediate fit? I don't know. I am willing to be proven wrong, though.
So you feeling playoffs this year?
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
All
they're
right.
making the playoffs this year. I'm putting it out there. I think they're too talented to miss the playoffs. I will say it's going to be a little bit more difficult because we've got 15 teams now, as opposed to 13 the previous season, and the number of teams that make the playoffs is still 8. So less wiggle room there, less margin for error. But I do think the Sky are going to be too talented to miss the playoffs. Given good health, obviously, they already have a couple of injuries, unfortunately, but they looked pretty good last night against, albeit probably the worst team in the league. But I do expect playoffs. The fans should be expecting playoffs. And if it's not, then that's going to be a problem. But yes, I think they'll make the playoffs.
All right. So tell me this. Who do you think is going to be winning it all this year?
Uh, every year I want to count out the aces, and then every year they prove me wrong. I'm like, okay, this is the year that Chelsea Gray finally falls off. This is the year their lack of depth catches up to them. Asia Wilson can't possibly play as well as she did last season, and then of course she does. I don't think you can rule out the Aces. I don't think you can rule out the Liberty. I think those two teams are still the class of the league. Atlanta is a popular pick. Of course, Angel Reese's new team. That's a popular pick heading into this season. I'm not sure if they've got quite the juice that the other two teams do, but they're in the conversation. And then people are going to say Indiana. I need to see it. I need to see Caitlin Clark stay healthy. I need to see that front court stay consistent. But Indiana is going to be a good team as well. I don't think there's a clear favorite at this point, but I would probably pick between one of those 4 teams.
All right. All right. Interesting. I'm just hoping that they can make the playoffs and give some postseason fun again. I mean, it's been 3-4 years? When was the last time they made the playoffs?
They made the playoffs in 2023, and they got bounced very quickly by the Aces. It was a total mismatch.
Yeah.
And then obviously the last 2 seasons, they didn't even sniff the playoffs. So
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess my last question for you is, obviously you're a season ticket holder. You've been since what, 2012, right?
yes, sir.
Yeah, long time. So are you expecting another rise maybe in attendance? Like, if they're doing well, you expect more fans to come out? Because obviously the last few years, we've seen that rise in attendance and popularity. You think if they're good again, they're gonna, keep bringing those people through the turnstiles?
That's a good question. Again, when they traded Angel Reese, I was like, man, the arena is going to be dead this year. But when they made the moves that they made, Skylar Diggins in particular is a very popular player, and she's really, really good, a perennial all-star. And she's actually kind of from the area, South Bend, which is obviously not Chicago, but it's in the ballpark. She's going to bring in a lot of people. And then again, are they going to win games? Chicago loves a winner, right?
Yep.
And And this is going to be the best team since that 2022 team that won, I think 26, went what 26 and 14, something like that. The best team in Sky history, when they were still drawing good crowds. I'm wondering if there is a rise in attendance, or if there is at least a not a drop in attendance. I'm wondering why that's going to be. Is it going to be because of the players that they brought in, or is it going to be because those players are winning games? And there's a difference there. Because obviously, last couple seasons, attendance was going up, 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 but the wins were going down, down, down. And being a part of that, it's like whatever, I'm there. But I want to root for a good team again. We'll just put it that way.
We're all right there with you, man. I mean,
Thank
in
you,
this
thank you.
city, we are wanting to see as many winning teams as possible. I mean, obviously, I think things are on the rise overall in the city over the past year or so. So hopefully it keeps growing. I don't have anything else. Sean, do you have anything else for our buddy Eric?
No, no, I'm just like everybody else. I'm excited for them to do well. I guess one last thing
Sure.
is is the departure of Angel Reese going to make it easier to get tickets?
Well, I don't know how hard was it to get tickets before.
They just got expensive. I guess especially when Caitlin
Yeah,
Clark came to
yeah.
town.
Okay, so
But I
here's
guess
the
that
thing,
won't
guys. Here's the
change.
thing. The league just signed a historic CBA. Salary cap jumped from $1.5 million last year to $7 million. So
Holy smokes.
several times over. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're seeing the first $1 million contracts in WNBA history, which is awesome. Long, 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 long overdue. Um, that money's got to come from somewhere, though. The majority of it is going to come from television deals and media rights and things like that. Um, Sean, answer your question. Yes, they got expensive. I'm not sure if that was because, again, I'm not sure if that was because of the names on the team or the success of the team, because the team was not very successful. I would not expect them to drop, however. I'm sorry to say. I think the Sky are going to be trying to push this out there like, hey, we got a good team again. Let's go. Everybody come on out and give us your money. Um, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm interested because I can't answer that question because I'm locked in. Like they start pestering me for renewals in like the July or August of the previous season. So like I've been paying. So I know my prices stayed the same, which I was pleasantly surprised by. But what they do for season ticket holders is probably vastly different from what they do for people looking for single game tickets. So it depends on I think where you're going to be sitting. Like if you're cool with 200 level, you could probably get them pretty easily. 100 level, you might have a little harder time, and it's also going to depend on who they play. So if you want to see them play Indiana, good luck. Open up your wallet. If you want to see them play Portland, yeah, come on down. That's just how I see it. I may be completely wrong. That's the logistics and the finances are not my strong suit.
Fair
Thanks for
enough.
that.
Well, Eric, thank you so much for joining us. Really good to have you on again, and maybe we'll have to have you on again. Towards the end of the season, if they're going to be in the playoffs, we'll maybe have to do a little preview with you.
Yeah, I would love that. That'd be very exciting because we have not been able to do that for a little while. And like I said, this is going to be a good and exciting team. I think there's a buzz around this team that I think we haven't seen for a few years now. So I'm really hoping they can play to their potential and give us something good to cheer for, and keep getting people into it. Like this is a great product. It's great basketball, and it's a lot of fun to go to these games. So hoping they can continue to grow as the WNBA grows, and good things to come this summer.
Love it. Love to hear it. Thanks again, Eric, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
See you,
Thanks.
Eric. That is Eric Nemchak, our resident Sky expert and basketball dude, and very good friend of mine. So always good having him on. Sean, I know that we have baseball and football to cover. What do you want to cover first?
Can we go Hawks? I know we dabbled on it a
Hawks?
little bit.
Okay. All right. Yeah,
Um,
we'll go Hawks.
but might as well just wrap that up. Is so they got the 4 pick, which on the surface you're like crap. Gavin McKenna would have been really nice to pair with Connor Bedard, but there's a name of a guy that I really like, it might be a better fit for the Blackhawks. And that's Ivor Stenberg. He's the
I wouldn't
brother
mind having him. I would
of
not mind
Otto
having him.
Stenberg from the St. Louis Blues. And, you know, before the lottery, I was like, that dude's going one or two. And like that's it. But the way the way that the draft lottery fell, um, I I don't know if that's the case anymore. Like Gavin McKenna is going to go number one. Like I think that's a given. But the Sharks got number two, and I don't think they need another scorer. They need a defenseman.
And there are some very good defensemen that are projected to be at the top of that draft.
Yeah, and so for them to be able to get the pick, I think they're going to go defenseman, which then and then you got all you got to do is get by the Canucks. And Caleb Maholtra is a guy who's very good. He's probably the best center in this draft. His dad is the AHL coach of the Canucks.
The Abbotsford Canucks, isn't that what they're called now?
I think so. So, like, there's a family connection there. And I could see them that going that direction because of that, which would mean Stenberg falls to 4 with the Blackhawks. I mean, they're still that's all got to fall into place, but that's actually a legitimate possibility at this point. Without it, you needed the Sharks to get up, either the Blackhawks to get up in the top two, or the Sharks to jump in there because the Sharks just have a really good young team, and I don't think they just need to add more scoring to that.
An interesting thought. An interesting thought. And maybe that is how it goes. I'm wondering if they trade the pick.
I think if Stenberg is there, I don't think they do. I think I think honestly, had they won, I bet they would have really contemplated taking him at 1. And if they would have got 2, 100% they're taking him at 2.
You think they would have taken him over Gavin McKenna at 1?
I think there's a possibility. I think a real possibility they would have.
Interesting.
I think Stenberg is really good. I think he's going to be just an absolute menace next to Connor Bedard. And Gavin McKenna, I think, has like an image issue, like a prima donna. And I don't know if they love that. I mean, he's definitely a really good hockey player, but so is Stenberg. I think they legitimately would have considered that had they got number 1, and they 100% would have taken him at number 2.
Oh, yeah. If they got number 2, I wouldn't doubt it because we all know the Leafs are taking Gavin McKenna.
Yeah. So I think at 4, if he's there, they're taking him. I don't think they would trade away if he's there. But if he goes in the top 3, I think they have to seriously consider making that trade because Maholtra doesn't really fit. He's good. He's a very good player, but I don't think he fits what the Blackhawks are trying to do. And then after that is a bunch of really good defensemen. And they've got a whole bunch of young defensemen. Where do they go? Where do they go there? So you're creating a bottleneck. I mean, I guess you're maybe hedging your bets that, getting numbers to get 6 really good players. But I just think they'd be better off trading if Stenberg falls out of there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with any of that. I really don't. I do wonder if you were going to trade back, who would you be trading with? Like, who would want to move up to that 4 spot from wherever? I mean, maybe one of those elite defensemen are up there and somebody wants them. I don't know.
Possibly. Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. There's a lot of teams that are looking for young defensemen and willing to trade for that opportunity. I mean, honestly, if I'm the Blackhawks, I'm probably working ahead as you get closer to that draft to have a framework in place and essentially say, hey, we're willing to move this if if the guy we want isn't there. And, that way it's in place. So when you're on the clock, if your guy is gone, you're like, okay, we pull the trigger, let's go. But if your guy is there, then you pick him and you say sorry about that and move on. I think you've got to at least have a framework in place because if Stenberg is not there, it makes it real tough, I think, for the Blackhawks to draft in that spot.
Yeah. No, I mean, unless you really do like one of those defensemen, because there are a handful of them. But could you get better value in a trade? I think that's where you contemplate it. It'll be interesting. I mean, it's kind of a weird position to draft in because, top four, you could get somebody really good top four, but there's a lot of uncertainty, I feel, with just what they have to work with and where they're trying to get to. Because, like Gavin McKenna, you draft him, he's coming to the NHL. And this team needs to be better quickly. They have to. The coach is done with it. The players, Connor Bedard, in the most polite way, has told you and sent you a message he's done with losing. Like, you have to get better now. And you might be in the position where if you were to draft one of those defensemen, how much seasoning do they need? And you know how defensemen go. Even if they get to the NHL quickly, sometimes it takes a while for them to find their footing.
Yeah, none of those defensemen are coming in and playing that first year.
Right, that's the problem.
They're not. That's not happening. So you're drafting a guy with that's at least, maybe at the end of the year they come up and have a cup of coffee, but none of them are going to make an impact.
No, I mean, that's the thing. You want something impactful now. You have to. You can't inch this along anymore, and I think everybody knows that. Now, obviously, Kyle Davidson isn't going anywhere. He got an extension, whether you agree with it or not, but you got to pay Connor Bedard soon. You got to keep him around, and I think they will, but you're going to go basically his entire rookie tenure not having won anything. You have finished dead last throughout his tenure here in Chicago.
I mean,
you gotta move this along.
Yeah, you have to. You've got to get the kids some victories, and part of that is those young players got to step up. Like, I mean, that is the way they built this. They built this on the draft, and they have done a really good job of bringing in talent. Now it's everybody's got to take a step up. And I think you've got some really good players, but you just got to be more consistent. Connor Bedard's got to stay healthy. I think Frondell had a really good cup of coffee in the bigs.
I liked what I saw from Frondell. I thought we saw some solid things.
Yeah, it was just very short period. So you got to see that across a whole season. You need to see those young defensemen really step up.
You know what? I know he's young, but like we need to see Levizhnov play like a higher draft pick next year.
I think you will. I
hope so. I really do. I'm not giving up on him, but you need to see it. And is it shit or get off the pot time for Kevin Korchinski?
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is it.
Yeah. I mean, how long has he been in this? Wasn't he Davidson's first pick?
He might have been.
He was, because I swear he was here before Bedard.
I'd have to go back and look.
Either way, it's been kind of that up and down with him between Rockford and the Hawks, and you're just kind of waiting for the value to be there. But I mean, here's the other reality too. You are very low on actual veterans. Your main veterans are Tyler Bertuzzi, Teuvo Teravainen. Most of the other veterans are gone. You've traded them away. You've moved them away for draft capital. And I think Tyler Bertuzzi is a very good player. He's not a star. He's not a he's not a guy you build around, but he's a very good player to have on a team. But you need more than that. I mean, frankly, Teuvo Teravainen, it just hasn't done much here since coming back. Whatever Carolina found, Carolina extracted because the Hawks version of Teuvo is just it's nothing great. And I feel like you're going to have to need to find more of that. I don't think they're trading for Brady Tkachuk. I really don't see it. I know it's easier said than done because there is no Marian Hossa available on the free agent market. There isn't.
Right.
Wouldn't you love to have Austin Matthews? That's not an option. So you might have to get creative here. And part of being creative is potentially using that fourth pick if it's not lining up with what you think you should be doing.
Yeah, and I, you've got to make some impacts, and they've got themselves in a little bit of a corner here because it's you've got so much talent that's young in here, and if you bring in veterans that could immediately help you, you're stifling young players. If you, but if you just rely on the young players, then you've got to go through those growing pains again. And it's it was a great rebuild, but I think they might have relied too much on the draft. And, maybe it's time to trade some of those young players for veterans and go that route. So
Right.
trading from your young pool opens up roster spots for those players that are more experienced. But you know what? We do have one new name that I'm really excited about coming here.
Mm-hmm.
Roman Kanserov.
Mm-hmm.
So he terminated his KHL contract and he's coming here. And he reminds me of Pavel Datsuk.
If we got Pavel Datsuk, that would be pretty sweet.
Uh, it's he's a really young, exciting player. He's doing great things in the KHL. I think he's going to come over here and just like Frondell, he's going to come in here and just not skip a beat.
Is he going to be a shootout master like Pavel Datsuk? I mean, remember, in the day, I don't think there was a better shootout player in the league than Pavel Datsuk when he was in his
I
prime.
don't know about that, but just the stick handling, it's just so good. And one of the knocks against Kontsarov was he didn't take the shot. He was always looking to pass, and he's sort of gotten away from that in the KHL, and he's willing to bury it when he sees it. So, I'm excited about him coming to Chicago, and there's a path where this team is actually pretty decent.
I
It's
hope so,
it's
man.
got to have a lot of things go right, but they're all things in the realm of reality that could happen. It's just like hitting a parlay though. It's will they all happen?
You know, it's hard to believe. Pavel Datsuk has been out of the league for 10 years now. Can you believe that?
It's a long time.
Yeah, 15-16 was his last year.
Hmm.
Wow. Now he's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Should we talk a little baseball here?
Sure.
So we were down on the Cubs, and they came roaring back with a vengeance and went on a massive winning streak.
Which one? The first one or the second one?
This last one is a very good winning streak.
It's the second 10-game winning streak before the end of May ever.
And but then these last two games, they just looked like the dregs at the plate. All that offense just disappeared overnight.
Yeah, well, that'll happen, right?
I'm just hoping they're tired. They haven't had a day off in a minute.
They need that day off tomorrow badly.
I'm hoping things just get a good night's rest and and recuperate makes things better because they didn't score a run in back-to-back games.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, Jacob deGrom was pitching like in prime 2015, 2016 Jacob deGrom today. So they didn't really do much there. And then frustrating night the one Saturday because the first four innings they had like 10 guys on base and they just couldn't drive them home. And then, Edward Cabrera kind of got roughed up. Who Edward
Back-to-back games not looking so good.
The last few starts, Edward Cabrera's just been very meh. And he could turn it around. He's got the stuff, but I think that kind of bad start that he had, you kind of foresaw it over the past few starts. You
I
just
mean,
did.
he did good enough on that first game against the Reds in the Red Series. Um, you're like, okay, it wasn't a great game, but you got it done. Um, but I was like, ooh, it's sort of you went from being the best pitcher to eh.
I mean, the way I see Edward Cabrera is the last few outings he's looked like a Colin Ray type where you're just grinding through and getting it done, which in a vacuum is fine, but what you acquired him for, you need a bit more than just getting by like a 4 or 5 starter. Not saying it's not going to happen. I just think it wasn't surprising that he got roughed up a little bit after kind of smoking through some of the past few starts. But I mean, it's clear right now, far and away, your best starter is Shota. It's not even close.
Yeah, and it stinks because, you know, Cade Horton out for the year. Who knows what's happening with Justin Steele?
Yeah.
And I'm not counting on him for anything. And then you have Boyd had a freak injury where he tears his meniscus, so who knows how long he's out. Um, and now you're in the at the point where you've got to be thinking about making a trade at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, the question is who's going to be willing to deal? I mean, that's the
Logan
thing.
Webb.
You want to take that reclamation project?
Maybe.
I mean,
Gonna
he's
be
a ground ball guy, and you have the ground ball defense.
Yeah, and he's on a team that's making moves.
Yeah, they already made the Patrick Bailey move, so maybe they'll do something else and try to coop something. But yeah, I mean, the way I see it is, I wouldn't mind getting kind of just to get another get by starter now, and then the deadline you try to make a move. I will say though, props to Ben Brown for stepping in the other night and being really, really good. He
I
wasn't
mean, he didn't
fully
pitch
stretched
long.
out.
He didn't pitch long,
He
but
wasn't stretched out, but he looked good.
he looked good. And starting this week, you're like, okay, I know the Reds aren't playing their best baseball, but they're in first place. And we got to, and 4-game series are tough because most of the odds point to it being a split series.
Right, right.
And at best, you're like, if you win 3, that's really good.
Yeah, you feel elated if you take 3 or 4 in a 4-gamer.
And the Cubs took the first 3 on walk-offs. Literally won with a walk-off.
Kind of absurd, right? Those games were kind of absurd. I mean, the first one with the PCA triple, the tie game, and then Michael Conforto, who's been awesome, by the way. Michael Conforto has been a hero for this team. He comes up with the game-winning home run the other way, his first ever walk-off home run ever. It's crazy because this was a guy who looked like...
Both Chicago teams got a reclamation project that's been doing well for them.
Yes.
In Michael Conforto and Randall Grichuk.
I am not looking. Randall Grichuk has murdered the Cubs, and next weekend, I am not looking forward to facing Randall Grichuk next weekend. But yeah, I mean, it's nice when you're able to find value like that. I mean, Michael Conforto has a clutch game tying hit that led to a walk-off, and now he's got a walk-off home run, and he's hitting well over 300. His OBP is over 400. He has been incredibly valuable to this team, even when they swept the Reds in that 8-3 blowout. He had a double, a walk, a home run. Like he was pounding the baseball. It was great to see.
Yeah, and so you end up sweeping the Reds, which was awesome. Loved that. Loved that for the Reds. Um,
Good on Michael
and
Bush too. The walk-off walk and the walk-off single under De La Cruz's glove.
the walk-off walk, I loved it. Love a walk-off walk.
Well, that was probably the best game of the series because it had the best moment of the series, which was the Pico Armstrong game tying homer in the ninth.
Yeah, he needed that. The Cubs needed that.
And just the crowd. I said this online. I said this on the Believe podcast. I said that moment made me think of Kerry Wood 2003 NLCS. The way they showed all the angles and like that overhead angle of him rounding the bases with just the crowd going absolutely nuts around him. And then you heard the clip of the Reds announcer saying the booth is shaking. I'm like, yeah, everything you see and hear reminds you so much of that Kerry Wood NLCS home run.
Yeah, and the standings just completely flipped on their heads. The Reds went from first to last.
Crazy how things can change so quickly,
Yeah, the
for
Reds are
better
now
or for
five.
worse.
Reds are now 5 games out of first.
The division is still so freaking competitive. It's
Oh, I
crazy.
know. But the I mean, it took a massive run, but the Cubs have a 3.5 game lead right now. Um, but the Cardinals are just playing really good baseball. The Brewers are playing good baseball. The Pirates are playing good baseball. The Reds are the disappointing team, honestly, and they're playing good baseball.
Yeah, I mean it's just a division full of competitiveness. Everybody's above 500 and you're seeing these teams grind out these games and it's kind of crazy. You just went 20-3 over a stretch.
What's the latest in a season that every single team in the division was above 500?
That's a good question.
Because it's there, and I bet come June, it's probably going to still be that way.
It very well could. I just I'm kind of waiting for the Cardinals to fade, but the more I watch them with some of the young players they have, I'm not saying they're going to win the division or they're
They're
far
pestering.
away favorites,
They're
but
pests.
they're pests. Exactly, they're pesky.
They're what the Brewers were before the Brewers became really good.
Yes, like that is a team trying to build to something, and frankly, right now they have absolutely nothing to lose.
Um, the Pirates have been just steady. The Pirates have just been pretty steady. The Reds are playing a rough spot, but they were on fire. Uh, and the Brewers are starting to catch fire now. They're on a four game heater. Uh, it's um, just a really competitive division.
I mean, one stretch can change everything again.
I
Just crazy how the game works sometimes.
Yeah, yep. Um, what else? So yeah, I mean the Cubs come back from sweeping the Reds, and you're playing Texas, who they're meh. They're a meh team. They're like around 500, and you're like, okay, I feel good about this. They win the first game you're like, oh, we have Ben Brown pitching. You'd expect to lose that one, but they dominate that one, 7-1 victory. And you're like, okay, now I feel good about winning this series because I've got Cabrera and Tyone pitching game 2 and 3. And then the offense just goes completely silent. I mean, Tyone pitched good enough for them to win today. Uh, th- Yesterday was just the Rangers just kept chipping away and, getting, bits and pieces of lead. But today, I think the Cubs pitched well enough to win that game.
Oh yeah, absolutely they did. And that one run was kind of controversial. It looked like he was clearly out, but it wasn't called that way. Um, but yeah, I mean, you can't win if you don't score, and they didn't score.
Yeah. I mean, regardless if that was overturned or not, they needed one run to win because the
Yeah,
Cubs
and they
scored
didn't get it.
nothing.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Against the Reds, Colin Ray looked okay. That bullpen in that Wednesday game. Ugh. Uh,
You know what drives me crazy about the bullpen more than anything? I mean, again, I don't want to take too much away from them because they're being held together by duct tape and glue. The only thing that I want to say is when you have these multi-run leads and you just keep walking guys, that drives me crazy. I will say though, Phil Maton and Jacob Webb have both looked much better recently. Much better.
and I agree with you about the walks. Like, just put the ball in, you know, put the ball in play. You've got a really good defensive team. Let them try to prevent the run. They can't do anything when you're walking guys.
Right. Like, here's a good example. I was driving home listening to the Red Sweep, that fourth game on Thursday afternoon. And, you know, Pat Hughes is talking about, oh, well, he's not throwing strikes. I think it was Gavin Hellawell. And he's like, the wind blowing in from center field. I don't think the strongest person in this building could hit it out. And yet, he was walking guys to where the tying run came on deck and they had to bring in Palencia. That's annoying. Because, like, he walked, like, what, four guys? It's like, that can't happen.
Yeah, it was not a good time.
No. But, I mean, again, it stinks when you have so many guys just hurt and you're holding this together with duct tape and glue. But it also makes it so amazing that they had a 20-3 stretch with that going on. And this is where I said stack the wins the best you can while you're still dealing with these injuries because there's going to be a point where it is going to cost you a little bit. But the fact that they were able to stack those wins is pretty remarkable. So, regardless of opponent, regardless of who they played, when they played, the fact that they were able to have that run with this banged up staff is really darn impressive.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for health to strike the Cubs.
It's hard when you have these injuries. It definitely is. It's definitely difficult. My hope is that we can kind of find a spot. I mean, obviously, no more injuries, but we can kind of find a spot with some of the diamonds in the rough because we've gone through a number. Like the one bullpen meltdown against the Reds before the PCA home run, like the Corbin Martin was obviously DFA'd. Like that was clearly not a solution. And I kind of like that they didn't really mess around. Like they're shuffling all these deck chairs, but if one deck chair is clearly broken, they're kind of willing to just go in and replace it right away. But I do also hope that he's supposed to be doing some rehab stuff this week that will have Caleb Thielbar back soon because that's a pretty big piece. We're not going to I'm not sure if Hunter Harvey's going to pitch again this year because he had a setback and he's had so many injuries in his career. So to trust him being on the field right now, I can't really do that at the moment. So even if he does come back, we're not going to see him for a little bit.
Yeah, and got that what is that, tricep injury?
Yeah, but I mean, he's had so many injuries in the past.
Yeah, I mean I think they moved him to the 60 day, didn't they?
I don't exactly remember, but yeah, we're not going to see him for a bit.
Uh, is what it is.
It's hard to control it. Just don't play with your kids, apparently.
You just get tired of saying next man up. I get it's next man up, but at some point you go, oh, what the hell?
It reminds me so much of remember the Bears win against the Steelers this past year when they just didn't have a defense?
Yeah.
It's kind of what it reminds me of. So I'm waiting for Craig Counsell to go, yeah, man, it takes a village. You gotta, he says it like Ben Johnson, except, sniffing in monotone.
Should we talk White Sox here?
Yep.
So White Sox are in second place,
They're right there.
one game out of first, and they've got Kansas City coming or they next, and if they win that series, they very well could be in first place in this division by the time they play the Cubs. It could be a battle of first place teams.
Very well could. It very well could. They are playing with a purpose and they are playing confident and high and they're hungry. They are really, really hungry and they're finding ways to win even when they're not dominating. And that's what you need to do. I mean, you win some of those close games. They haven't been able to win those close games in years. I mean, today was a perfect example against the Mariners when they were able to do a 2-1 win where both starters on each team were pitching really, really well. Davis Martin is unreal.
He's had a great season. I mean, he's probably Mooney and Martin are probably going to be your all-stars.
Yeah, I mean at this rate, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They did I mean right now, I know it's only mid-May, but they've played like all-stars, that's for sure. Heck, Davis Martin is in a early Cy Young conversation right now.
Yeah.
Way too
But
early Cy Young conversation.
it's way too early.
Way too early. But you know what I mean.
Yeah. Um, but I mean, here you have this week is just the same old, same old. Is Mooney hit a home run, Vargas hit a home run, Montgomery hit a home run, Davis Martin had a great start. It's the same things over and over. This is uh you need some of the other players to start really kicking into gear, but man, has Mooney been an absolute just like not to be a pun, but a home run hire, home run
Ha ha
signing.
ha 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 ha. Ha. Well, I mean, you're literally right. It is a home run hire because there's a hell lot of them. He's got such easy power and he's attracting that international attention to them, so it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. But uh, you had Martin had a great start against the Angels on Monday. He had another great one today. Just looking phenomenal. Eric Fetty, real rough outing against the Angels. Noah Schultz, stinker against the Angels.
Which will happen. I mean, he's a
It's
young
gonna
kid.
happen. It came off the rails on that one. But you bring in Randall Grichuk, and he's playing really well for you.
And I want to be complimentary for him, but again, the Cubs and the Sox play each other next week, and Randall Grichuk is frickin' Manny Ramirez against the Cubs, so that makes me squirm a bit. But yeah, I mean, for the White Sox, it is really, really good.
Yeah, I mean his slash line with the White Sox is 250, 308, 750, and OPS of uh over 1,000.
Yeah, I mean, for a guy that, you just bring in and, as a veteran utility guy, you will take that running every day.
Yeah. Yep. Um, it's a far cry from what you've been getting from Acuna.
Yeah, I'll say.
Acuna's when they brought him, like, you know what? I think that might be a sneaky good move. But man, he stunk.
Sean Hopman thought it was the other Acuna, ladies and gentlemen.
Uh I I was like, I think that might be a sneaky good move. But oof, has it been brutal?
Well,
Brutal.
that's why you made this other move. You added some more depth there.
Um, yeah. What else we got here? Duh, 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 I mean, the pitching, I wanted to shit on Kay, but he had a good start yesterday
He
against
did.
Seattle.
He
Really good
did.
start. Um, another game, Vargas and Montgomery home runs to lead the way. But I mean, this team, it's funny. You look at the numbers, and it. You're like, how are they winning other than just your three big boppers hitting home runs? Um, but the team is just finding ways to win, and they're getting enough timely pitching. The bullpen's hanging in there enough that you're getting wins, and the schedule hasn't been crazy. The
No,
ske-
but Seattle on paper, they haven't shown it yet, but Seattle on paper is a pretty solid team.
yeah, I mean they we saw what they did last year, and they're not a hugely different team.
No.
Um, but I mean, have they played? I mean, they haven't played the Dodgers. Um, I mean, they haven't played the toughest of teams, but you know what? You play the teams that are on your schedule.
Yeah, I mean, anything was going to be a big improvement when you play like this, regardless of who you play against. Never apologize for a win. Isn't that what Ben Johnson always says?
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely you've got to 100%. You just win the games that are on your schedule. That's it. That's all you can do.
Exactly.
Um, quickly pulling up their schedule. Uh,
So you got
so
Royals, Crosstown. I know that.
yeah, I'm looking at who they've played so far. They've played the O's, the Blue Jays, who've been meh, the Royals. They played the Rays. The Rays are very good. Um, they got swept by the Rays. Uh, they played the A's. The A's are pretty good. Diamondbacks have been meh. Nationals. They played the Angels a bunch. I think they got to be done with the Angels by now, right?
Yeah, they're done with the Angels.
They played the Padres. Padres are pretty good.
Yeah, they won that series in San Diego. That's not
Yeah.
easy.
But then you've got, then it starts to get the Cubs. Well, you get the Royals next, and they're tied with you for second place. So it's that's a big competition right there. You win that series, you overtake them, probably move into first. But then you get Cubs, Mariners, then you get the Giants. Giants have been brutal. Then the division opponents, the Twins, the Tigers, the Twins again. Before you get the Phillies, Braves, Dodgers, Yankees. That's the brutal stretch right there. That early June. That's when the gauntlet comes down. But you know what? It's better to start off or to get the season under your belt, especially when you're a young team. Get that, all the rough start out of the way. Figure out who you are, what you do, and you'll start playing your better baseball. And hopefully by June, they're clicking on all cylinders as best they can here. They're
Hmm.
still a really flawed team.
Yeah, I mean, when you're building like that, you're gonna,
But it's a rebuild. Like
right.
so you've just got Mooney jump started things. That great start to the career of Montgomery. Vargas is finding out who he was, and I thought he would be a stopgap, and no, he seems like he might be your dude. Um, he's been clobbering home runs for you, and
Yeah.
so you can't hate on that. Um, what do the rest of the stats look like? 230 batting average, not great, but that 366 on base is good. That 841 OPS is good.
It's very good.
So, you've got to be happy with what Vargas has given you. That's I mean, this is an abysmally low batting average team. Abysmally low.
Well, batting average isn't what it used to be.
It's not. It's not. It's funny. You know, they got rid of the shift, hoping that it would lead to more hits, and it hasn't.
No, it hasn't. Because there's a lot of swing and miss. There's a lot of launch angle.
Yeah. Um, but I mean, I'm just going down the batting averages here, and you're right. Batting average doesn't mean it means a whole lot different than when I was a kid. When I was a kid, like you would have looked at this team and been like, "This is the worst team ever assembled." But 268, 232, 230, 221, 278, 261, 159, 175, 270, 250, and 174. But I mean, you've got Murakami at a 920 OPS, Vargas 841, Montgomery 806. Mydroth, he was a light hitting guy, but he's got a 730 OPS. So, what the hilarious one is their catcher Romo batting 174, but has over 1,000 OPS. That's hilarious. 174 batting average, 406 on base percentage.
That's pretty funny.
That is Moneyball right there. The A's back in the day would have been like drooling over that guy.
Oh, absolutely. Snap, because he gets on base.
Uh, should we wrap this up with a little bit of Bears?
Yeah.
So the Bears had their first like mini camps, and they actually. So normally it's just the draft picks and the unsigned rookies you brought in and some tryout guys you brought in. They actually had a few veterans that they brought in for tryouts to go in the camp, and they signed one of them, which was a little bit interesting. Scotty Miller, who you probably remember won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady in Tampa.
Yep, that was during the pandemic year.
I think that is a sneaky good signing.
Yeah, I mean, I said, why not? Why not? You want to bring in an experienced veteran Super Bowl winner? Why not?
He's that outlet that you need. You need that safety valve and like sometimes you find it with your tight end, sometimes you find it with a running back, sometimes you find it with that you know receiver that always finds an opening. And I think the way that the Bears are using their tight ends, you're not just dumping off and having safety valves. They're in intricate in the scheme that you're trying to do, and you're trying to get bigger plays with your Colston Loveland. So I think Scotty Miller and it's funny because when they signed him, I said to myself, I was like, it's going to be an interesting way that they construct this this roster. Because typically you have like 25 offensive players. And I'm like, where are they going to take spots? Because you're probably carrying 4 tight ends. They'll probably carry 3 quarterbacks again. And then, they've been carrying 6 wide receivers. You're like, where do you take away players from there? And I know they've kept low amounts of running backs since Ben Johnson's been here. I think they only had 3 running backs on the roster. But then I heard a peculiar comment from Xavier Thomas. Xavier Thomas, who they drafted in the 3rd round to be a really fast wide receiver returner man. And he said he's very comfortable at running back and running between the tackles. Did Ben Johnson draft a running back and none of us knew it?
Maybe.
Is he going to be that guy that just adds that home run speed at the running back spot?
I would love it. I would absolutely love it.
I think he's what we're going to see is he's going to find the field as a return man, as a gadget guy as a receiver, and as a probably a 5 to 7 carry a game back. You're gonna see, I think, is not a thunder and lightning scheme. You're gonna have the 3-headed back where Monungai is your hammer and DeAndre Swift is your veteran guy, and Xavier Thomas is the guy that could break a tackle. I mean, break it for a home run. I think they sneakily got a running back, and we never even considered that. And Scotty Miller is actually going to be that wide receiver that, um, that we keep on the roster.
So tell me this too, because this was kind of the impression I got as well. In addition to Ben Johnson's scheme and whatnot, when they signed Scotty Miller, kind of felt like an Antoine Randall L inspired signing, wouldn't you say?
A
Don't you think
hundred,
there was
a
some?
100%.
Yeah,
Um, but they wouldn't have signed him if Ben Johnson didn't have a plan for him.
of course, of course.
Uh,
But the fit seemed pretty obvious, right?
yeah, I think, there is just a room for him to be this safety valve. So, if you carry six running or wide receivers again, which my guess, that's been how they've done it for a number of years. Rome's a lock. Luther Burns a lock. Right?
Yes, of course.
Uh, Khalif Raymond's probably a lock.
He has to be.
Um, and Xavier Thomas is going to be a lock because he was a third round draft pick. But do they carry him at running back or at wide receiver? Um, and you've got Jade Walker, and now Scotty Miller. Um, it's starting to get interesting.
You'll have some competition potentially.
Uh, I'm curious to see how they start constructing everything in the lab.
Just picture Ben Johnson with a bunch of beakers and a freaking goggles and a lab coat, and he's just pouring just absurd, like bubbling chemicals and
And he's talking like Beaker from the Muppets.
he's got that wide-eyed crazy look the entire time.
Old Bunsen and Beaker.
Hey, where are my purple crayons? You see Ben Johnson using the purple crayons to aggressively jot down notes.
Uh, but I'm really hoping though that we get a squirrel sighting. My dude, Squirrel White.
Squirrel White.
How awesome would it be if I showed up to Bears training camp wearing a Squirrel White jersey?
You show up with a jersey and you have a giant novelty acorn. You just like pretend to gnaw on it the whole time.
Uh, oh my God, the squirrel. Uh, I wonder what number he got. He's going to be number 26. I'm going to get a Bears 26 jersey with Squirrel White's name on it. Why?
Have
Why?
at it.
Just because.
Have at it.
Oh my God. I just imagine the look on his face when he sees somebody wearing his jersey in the crowd.
He'd probably be like, "You're my new favorite person."
I just become best friends with Squirrel White. I give him a crock pot. This is a Marty Havlat crock pot. You probably don't know who Marty Havlat is, but you will learn.
A what? Speaking of numbers, did you hear the number news? The notable number news?
I did, and Brian Urlacher's wife is not happy about it.
But Brian is okay with it,
Yeah, who cares?
apparently. He
know
gave
what?
him the blessing.
She doesn't need to give him blessing. Is the Bears can't keep retiring numbers? Is honestly, what numbers should be retired on the Bears? Walter Payton. That's I think the no-brainer. You retire number 34. After that, I'm okay not having any other numbers retired.
So you're even saying Hallis's number?
Why? He was a great coach. Retire his stupid hat. Nobody can wear that stupid hat at the stadium anymore.
They replaced the number with just an insignia of the hat. But you're saying you would take away
Ditka, Butkus.
you'd take away Ditka, Buckus, Sayers,
Yeah,
Mike Singletary, Richard Dent?
yeah.
You a knucklehead.
Honor them. Have a ring of honor. There's just too many numbers you're taking away.
You really would take away Dick Buckus's number.
I love Dick Butkus, but did he win a Super Bowl? Like, all right, here we go. Bronco Nagurski. Do you take do you reclaim number 3?
I mean, okay, Clyde Bulldog Turner, Bill George, Bill Hewitt, Willie Gallimore, maybe Bronco Nagurski, George McAfee, sure. Those.
Brian Piccolo, take that number back.
Brian's song is too ingrained.
It's a great movie and it's a sad story, but you know what? Like, you can't just be like, oh, that was a sad story. Let's retire his number.
Breaking news. Sean thinks Brian's song is not good and he thinks this story is chumpful.
Like, are you retiring Zach Miller's number because it was a tragic ending there?
No.
All right.
Was there a movie made about it with Billy D. Williams and what's his name? Caan?
Yeah, James Caan.
James Caan. I was thinking of Scott Caan, his son, for some reason. But yeah, James Caan. Was there, Sean?
No, there wasn't.
Was James Caan Zach Miller, Sean? Was he?
Are you keeping Red Grange's number? Like, could anybody even tell you what Red Grange looked like? No, because he was a ghost. He was a ghost.
Probably not, but Red Grange is also an Illini legend.
Retire his number in Champaign-Urbana.
He is. Him and Dick Butkus are.
Like, I just, like, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's 14 numbers.
It's tied for most in the NFL. Listen,
go look when you go to training camp and they give you that little roster sheet. How many players have to wear duplicate numbers? Because they can't have enough numbers.
Listen, I understand. Like, if you want to take away Bill Hewitt, I don't think 90% of Bears fans know who the hell that even is. I don't think a lot of people don't. Well, maybe some buffs, but there are plenty of casuals who don't know Clyde Bulldog Turner or Bill George. But there's no way in hell you take away Dick Butkus.
I'm taking away Sid Luckman, too.
Oh, don't you dare. That was our quarterback, man.
Yeah, we've got our quarterback now. We are watching the greatest Chicago Bears quarterback ever currently, and he's on a rookie deal. Take away that Sid Luckman number. And what's funny is I can't picture Sid Luckman now without having some sort of mashup with Smoking Jay Cutler. So in my brain now, anytime I see Sid Luckman, I see him not wearing a helmet, playing out there with a cigarette in his mouth. Like, all right, here's my rankings. Is Walter Payton's number stays retired. That's the S tier. Like, you can't touch that one. He's the greatest football player that's ever laced him up and died way too early. Won a Super Bowl. Like, the trifecta. You can't touch that. That's the dude. His number should be retired everywhere. Nobody should be allowed to wear 34 in any team. Mike Ditka's probably that second. Mike Ditka
and Dick Butkus.
Dick Butkus, Gale Sayers, that second tier. And Gale Sayers was great, but he played 6 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, I think those
really good
three
ones.
are fair. So Mike Singletary isn't retired? I thought he was one of them.
He is not.
So okay, hold on.
Neither is. Yeah, that let me hold on. Is this list up to date? No.
Okay, so hold on. They don't have Iron Mike retired, but They have Clyde Bulldog Turner and Bill Hewitt
Yes.
and fucking
No
Willie
Richard Dent either. No
Gallimore.
Richard Dent.
There's no Richard. Okay, okay. This is a little screwy.
Yeah,
This is a
take
little
'em back.
screwy.
Take 'em back.
Who the fuck knows who Bill Hewitt is? May he rest in peace. Nobody knows who the fuck that is. And Willie Gallimore, you retired. That's a little screwy. I mean, if you wanted to retire some other people and take away some of these others, the fact that Mike Singletary is not retired, but Bill Hewitt is? What the hell?
Brian Piccolo is. Richard Dent is not. Brian Piccolo is.
I'm giving
Brian Urlacher
Piccolo
is
a
not.
pass, but I agree
No.
with the others.
No. Mike Singletary, you're saying here, breaking news. Alex says Brian Piccolo should be retired over Mike Singletary.
You bastard.
Quote, I sourced it. Alex Pat says that Brian Piccolo was a much better player than Mike Singletary.
Obviously. Duh. I don't even know what the hell George McAfee looks like.
Yeah. And yeah, George Hallis is not a Hall of Fame player. Take that number away.
Okay, well, he's also he founded the team.
I know. And they've put his initials on the jersey. That's pretty good. That's better than your number retired.
He played for and owned and coached the team.
They're going to name the new state whenever they build a new stadium. It's going to be called the George S. Hallis Stadium.
Is it really, or is it going to be named after Dasani water?
It's going to be Fruit of the Loom presents the George S. Hallis Stadium of Arlington, the Chicago Bears of Arlington Heights.
Everyone gets a free Fruit of the Loom undie pants.
Didn't the Dolphins have a stadium that was named after underwear?
That stadium's changed names how many times?
It's like almost as bad as Comiskey. Yeah, I'm taking all these back. I'm taking them back. I'm taking all of them back except 34, and then I'm going to redistribute. Like, all right, everybody loses it except Walter Payton. And then I go back. I'm like, all right, Mike Ditka, you can have your number back.
Gale Sayers,
Gale Sayers, you can have yours. Dick Butkus, have yours. Bronco Nagurski, sorry, Bronco. Nobody knows what you look like.
Hey, Bronco dented the Wrigley Field bricks, man.
That's probably awesome.
That's probably awesome.
Like, if you only played when everybody was in black and white, your number gets unretired. Like if over the top of your highlight reel, it plays the music. Then no, when the cars that you drove to the stadium went auga, auga, your number is unretired. It's different in baseball. That is a different story in baseball. In football, no, your number gets unretired if you're driven a auga car.
Hey, everybody, it's Clyde Bulldog Turner. He's coming in and giving you the sponsor of Marlboro cigarettes. Hey, kids, why don't you do your Marlboro cigarettes every day? It'll make you feel better and peppy, just like me, Clyde Bulldog Turner, and you could be in the NFL and play football. Oh, look at him go. Look at him get the ball. Look at him tackle the guy. He just tackled Jaw Spittin' McGee.
That was amazing. That was amazing. Yeah, Willie Gallimore got it because he died in a car wreck. Like, nope, take it back. Brian Piccolo, sorry, you get remembered because James Caan played you in a movie.
Cruel. You're just being cruel.
It's not cruel. It was a cruel joke that they retired your number. I'm sorry he died. Like put some money towards cancer research. Don't retire his number. No, unretire that. I'll tell his family.
You will show up with your Greedo mask Uta tuta, puka, lota, retired number no more, Chicago Bears, uka.
Uh, and if they also made like a remake of Brian's song that was terrible.
No, we don't talk about that. Wasn't that like in like 2000 or 1999?
2001. Mekhi Phifer played Gale Sayers
Yeah, we don't talk about that one.
because that movie was terrible. That
That is
movie was.
grounds for Sean Hopman to remove your number.
Is Brian's song streaming anywhere?
I used to watch it just on YouTube.
It's probably on YouTube. Uh, it's on a streaming service called Howdy. The hell is Howdy?
Howdy.
What the hell is Howdy? I
I
have no
don't
idea.
think I've heard of it.
You can subscribe through to Howdy via Amazon Prime. Huh. That's weird. I think I have the movie on DVD though. Howdy is a budget-friendly, ad-free streaming service launched by Roku. It specializes in nostalgic, feel-good TV movies and cult classic like Sleepless in Seattle and Weeds. It costs $2.99 a month. Who thought it was a good idea to name it Howdy?
Well, who thought it was a good idea to live in a world where you don't have Mike Singletary retired or Richard Dent, but you got Clyde Bulldog Turner.
Uh, Clyde Bulldog Turner.
I mean, he played for 12 years. Good for him, but
Yeah, but it was before any of us were born.
yeah. Bill Hewitt played from 1932 to 1936. Again, who the hell knows who that is?
If you played and you didn't have a face mask, your number can't be retired.
Uh,
What year were you born?
1994.
You were 4 when Bulldog Turner died,
Yeah.
and he lived a full life. The man was born during the Dust Bowl. Uh,
Bill Hewitt, playing without a helmet, laterals to teammate Bill Carr as two defenders close in on him circa 1933. Hewitt played for the Chicago Bears for 5 seasons from 1932 to 1936. As a rookie, he played in the 1932 NFL playoff game for the Bears against the Portsmouth Spartans, which was held to break a tie that season for the NFL championship. The Bears defeated the Spartans 9-0, famously at Chicago Stadium because it was icy. Cool.
Bulldog Turner was a center that played at 6'1", 235 pounds. He was 235 pounds.
Well, of course, you got to eat like Clyde Bulldog Turner.
He was a giant of a man weighing 235 pounds.
Oh my goodness, the circus wanted to employ him and show him as one of their freaks.
If they had if they had cable back then, they would like My 200-pound life. He's fattest man on earth.
He's going to the doctor to find a solution. The doctor, smoking Marlboro, is giving him his advice right now. He says you have to cut out on the fried steaks, Sonny. But be sure to smoke plenty of cigarettes.
Chicago Bears Hall of Famer Bill Hewitt was 5'9", 190 pounds.
And he didn't wear a helmet.
He was 5'9", 190 pounds. What the hell?
I'm looking at a picture of him playing in a game without a helmet and he's lateraling. This is hilarious. Just
He
look at his
played
Wikipedia page.
he played defensive end at 5'9", 190 pounds.
You can't catch Bill Hewitt.
Hold on. Let me put it this way. If you played professional football for a team called the Steagles, you can't have your number retired in 2026. There's a rule. I invented that rule. If you played for the Steagles, not the Eagles, not the Steelers, the Steagles, if you played for the Steagles, you can't have your number retired anymore.
Wasn't that when the two were combined?
Yes.
Like, no, that's legit a thing for our listeners. They were the Steagles for,
Yeah,
what was it,
during
a
World
year?
War II.
Yeah. Because there weren't enough players because a lot were, serving over in the war. So
And
they
Bill
combined.
Hewitt couldn't because he was too little.
Sorry, Sonny, you're too small. You're just gonna have to keep playing football. Oh, gee, Willikers, I wanted to serve our country.
They treated him like Steve Rogers before he took the super serum.
Do you want to kill Nazis?
Sure, Guy G. Willikers, I do. I just left my job at the Chicago Bears. I'm ready to kick some Nazi ass.
What is he, Mickey Mouse now?
Hey, he's the same size.
He really is. I was gonna say, I answered my own question.
Uh, now, how big was Willie Gallimore? Now I'm. Oh my God, Gallimore. Willie Gallimore was. All right, here we go. He was 6'1", 187 pounds. At that time, he was probably the biggest running back anybody's ever seen in their life.
Wait, how many pounds?
6'1", 187.
Look at him go, weave, and take out guys with his uber strength. It's just so funny. If you put these guys in a modern NFL game, they would literally be leaving with every broken bone in their body after one play.
Just imagine, like, Bill Hewitt at 5'9", 190 pounds, going up against Penei Sewell. Penei Sewell is going to drive him to the grocery store, drop him off in the basket on the, where you put your child. He's going to put his little dangly feet in there and take him, fill up the cart, and then bring him back for the next play. That is how ridiculous that is.
Oh yeah, he would lift him with one arm and like he'd have him over his shoulder carrying him to the grocery store. He'd be flailing his legs. Hey, buddy, let me go. This isn't right. Hey, buddy, stop this. Yeah, I'll give it to you. You'll see. You'll watch. Oh, now you're in for it.
Like, okay, I get Bronco Nagurski was probably a freak of nature at that time because he was 6'2", 235 as a running back.
Was he also a professional boxer too?
He might have been. Like, okay, I'll give you that one. Like, when he's bigger than the offensive lineman.
And when he's denting the bricks at Wrigley Field.
He was Canadian.
Bronco Nagurski?
Yeah. According to Wikipedia, his real name is Bronislaw Nagurski. He was a Canadian-American professional football player. Played fullback and defensive tackle.
Is Bronislaw just Canadian coleslaw?
He was a professional wrestler. He's from Ontario.
I knew he was a professional fighter somehow. And, Bill Hewitt is in the Hall of Fame. Obviously, Bronco Nagurski is. But, yeah, Bill Hewitt is in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I'm sure back then he was truly great. The NFL All-30s Decade Team, NFL 100th Anniversary All-Time Team, NFL 75th Anniversary All-Time Team. I just, yeah. So,
You didn't have a 300-pound football player until the late 60s.
yeah, that's crazy to think about. So, my grandfather is 92 years old, diehard Bears fan. He was born in 1934, right? So he was born during the prime of Bill Hewitt's career. And he was gone by 1936. My grandfather would have been two. I can guarantee you he doesn't have any recollection of the Bears when he was two. So if you're in your 90s, you don't remember Bill Hewitt playing. Just saying.
Yeah, I'm sure he doesn't remember Bronco Nagurski playing either.
Probably not. He
Bronco
might,
Nagurski,
he actually might remember Clyde Bulldog. He probably will remember Clyde Bulldog Turner.
yeah, but that was what, the 50s?
It was the 40s and the 50s.
Yeah. Um, but like Bronco Nagurski, he came back for 1 year after later, but he was 1930 to 1937
Yeah, so if he were to remember anything, it would have been that last year he came back years later.
in 1943.
Probably his earliest sports memories were around the mid 40s during World War II. Because he always said he remembered the 45 World Series. And then he was a season ticket holder by like the late 50s? Mid late 50s? I think late 50s.
Yeah. But yeah, those numbers are mine. I can dish them out and dole them out however I want. Sorry, Bronco Nagurski. Are there any Nagurskis left? Does he have any lineage left?
Actually, I don't know if she was related, but I actually had a librarian in middle school named Mrs. Nagurski. I don't know if there was any relation or not, but
Does Bronco Nagurski have living relatives? Yes. Um,
and he's gonna come to your house and kick your ass after listening to this.
his son Ron Nagurski has represented the family at events for the Bronco Nagurski Trophy and was active as of 2019. Like his kid's got to be old as shit too, because he
All this,
died in 1990 at age 81.
I feel like we're gonna be talking on a show, then all of a sudden your voice is gonna go, "Brr, brr," and then I'm gonna hear a bunch of rustling and a bunch of like smacks, and it's gonna be the family of Bronco Nagurski kicking your ass,
They're all 900 years old.
and they're all just beating the crap out of you.
Here's his Bronco Nagurski and his wife Eileen had 6 children: Bronco Jr., Tony, Ronald, Kevin, Eugenia, and Janice.
Big family.
Jesus. Where's Janice Nagurski these days?
I don't know.
Hmm. Why was Bronco Nagurski called Bronco? He was baptized Bronislaw Nagurski, but his friends had trouble pronouncing his first name.
Well,
Uh,
Bronco is definitely easier to pronounce.
he retired in his 20s and came back out of retirement to play in his mid 30s.
What a G.
Oh my God. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I think I said my piece. I think I've had enough over exaggerated, over the top old Atlantic accent for one night. That was a lot of fun to do though. I'm sure our listeners hate it, but I had
I
fun.
don't care. I'm cackling like a witch over here. It was that was good. You came like off the cuff with that.
Yeah, it was like I was on like Juggernog or something.
I'm like, all right, how far can he go with this? And I'm like, he's still going. I love it.
I could
Love
probably
it.
go further. Maybe next show we'll just do a special Bears retired segment where we have to do it again.
His finest memory was playing with Mordecai Three Finger Brown.
The two of them used to go to bars and fight each other all day until they shook hands and became friends, and then they smoked more Marlboro, and then they drank some beer, and then they got kicked out because it was prohibition, and then the cops called them, and then they ran from the cops, and they beat up the cops, and they were able to escape and smoke more Marlboros.
They used to hang out outside the bar and play ball until they were allowed to go. They were old enough to go in at age 6 and drink short beers.
That sounds about right.
Back then, you couldn't drink a full beer until you were 12, but at 6, you could drink a short beer. You worked a full day in the mine, you could drink a short beer.
And then if you swept the floors, you got another one.
You got a nickel and a short beer.
That's how they were. Yeah, we're retiring. We still have guys retired who got paid nickels and short beers for their services.
They got paid a nickel, and Olin Kreutz is getting $15 an hour. Times have come far.
Yeah, times have changed. Times have changed quite a bit.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. I want to thank everybody so much for listening. Please hit subscribe however you listen to podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, Spotify, etc. Share this podcast with your friends, how we grow the show. Follow us on social media at Swerski Sports, Facebook.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com, or Swerski_sports_podcast on Instagram, ShyFanPat2 for Alex on Twitter/X, or AlexanderJPatCreative.com for all the cool stuff that Alex does. And again, thank you all so much for listening. And until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like Remember, New Yorkers, smoking crack is not legal on planes. Bears 31 to -7. The Bears!
Oh, when the Bears go bearing down